But I can tell you, there is only one safe haven, because this is a bubble in everything. The 1929 bubble, real estate wasn't that big a bubble back then because people couldn't borrow money for cheap with no money down with a 30-year mortgage, okay? There were 5-year mortgages, balloon mortgages and much more money down, 50% down, okay? So real estate was not bubbling as much as now. Commodities had peaked long before, so it was major a stock up. This is an everything bubble, and it is more global than ever. So this is going to be a big burst. But I'll tell you, Martin, where I'm going to disagree with most of the bears. When this crash happens, I'm going to say this is it. It's over. We should have had the bigger crash in 2008 to maybe 2010, like 29 to 32, and then this is a secondary crash after. No, we didn't have that big crash. They stopped that. The economy didn't get to work out all the debt and restructure all these excesses and zombie companies. By the way, 20% rising zombie companies, public companies in the US, okay? Companies that are not paying their debt service, but they don't have to fail because nobody's pushing it, The central banks aren't pushing the banks to clear loans, and the banks just let the loans stay there because they don't want to declare losses. So it's just stupidity. So this will be it. And we will move by 2023 or so into the next global boom. And then all the bulls will be saying, oh, we're going to be in a decade-long depression like the 1930s. Because it's going to look just like 30 to 32, okay? Because that's what I've been saying. So if it does look like that, then they're going to say, oh, well, we're in for a decade-lost economy. No, I'm going to say it's going to be hard, it's going to be terrible, it's going to be over. And a lot of debt's going to go down. And the only way that can happen, and this is my deepest prayer. This is what makes me religious, Martin. I want to see these freaking central banks fail so bad that they don't have a function anymore except to print money in a real emergency short term, that they get stripped. Because they're the ones that have fed this bubble after 2008, when they just should have let the economy restructure like we did in the 30s and then go on and boom again. So that's my perfect scenario. If we do start crashing this year, it really mushrooms faster than even the 29-32 crash, because it's been held back and pumped up so long, stretched so far that it crashes even faster. And by late 2022 or sometime in 23, we're over this thing. And then we come out of it and we have another boom from 2023 or 4 into 2036, 37. That's a period other countries, especially in your neck of the word, Asia and stuff outside of China, will be booming much longer than that. But all countries will be booming into that time period. So we'll have another global stock run then, but we need a washout first. And so I'm hoping it starts sooner than later. And I think late this month is a good target in July. The one thing I want to ask, though, important to look for, because that's why we're in this unpredictable stage, because governments keep doubling and tripling and quadrupling down. We have to see a crash that gets nasty quick. That's the only way you know. Anytime we start to have a correction, let's say we go up to 4,600 on the S&P 500. That's my target in this channel it's in, okay? That could be a top. But if we do not see within weeks a sharp, nasty crash start that looks like it's going to go down 50% in 2 to 3 months, then it's not a top yet. So every time we have a potential top, I'm going to be looking, and usually can tell people within maybe 2 or 3 weeks, does it look like the top or not? But man, when this thing goes, I do think it's going to be 50% or more in about 2 months. So nobody's going to catch that. You wait to see if I'm right, and we're right, you're going to lose your ass. And then you're going to panic when it's down 50%, thinking it's going to go down 9.
Of course, the point there is that the central banks will throw ever more fuel on the fire, trying to stop it from falling, right? Because, of course, they're worried about financial stability and they're worried about, the broader economic parameters. But the point is that central banks have proven over the last 10, 15, 20 years that they are incapable of actually doing what they think they can do.
Exactly. Well, also, they do lose credibility at some point. Now, here's the trap. And here's the most important number in the world I'm going to stress in this webinar coming up, okay? The new number in the world that's most important is not GDP, but 85 trillion. Yeah, that's been going up. 500, and this number is already dated, but this is my latest figure about 7, 8 months ago. $525 trillion in financial assets, 6 times, a little more than 6 times global GDP. That should be 2 times, 3 at most. That's the bubble. The real bubble, as I said at the beginning, the Fed's crazy. Oh yeah, the economy responds a little bit. It's the financial assets that are inflating like crazy. That's where all this printed money is going, and it's trickling into the economy, but the financial assets not trickling. Major bubble. The problem the Fed has is these bubbles have blown up so high. If I'm right, and global stock markets take a 50% hit, and of course real estate follows that. Okay, think about 2550 assets, okay? Trillion. At least 200 of that disappears in a short period of time. That's an avalanche they're printing against at this point, okay? That's the problem. The more they blow up this bubble, and you finally get that first 50% crash, which is exactly what happens when a major bubble peaks. At one point, it gets to the point where they can't print enough fast enough. Of course, they're going to react. Of course, they're going to print, but they have to wait to see some evidence of it. I'm talking about 50% in 2.3 months. That's my prediction when this thing blows. It's going to be that fast. I think that's what breaks the central banks. The economy, the markets, which they created the monster turns around and eats the central banks that created it. Yeah. Because they can't react fast enough, big enough to offset a $200 to $250 trillion evaporation of money. So forget bank accounts, forget your savings account, forget your income, $525 trillion going up in flames and losing at least 40 to 50% of its value in a short period of time. That's what kills the central banks and causes them to lose credibility. And people say, oh, they finally go, oh, we kind of knew this was a bubble. What idiots we were. People are going to feel like the dumbest asses in history, and you deserve to. If you believe that economy can keep going up forever because they print money out of thin air. If you believe that, you deserve to lose your ass. That's my message to people. I'm sick of being nice. This is baloney, and if anybody doesn't see it, you're blind. People hate me for pointing this out, okay? This is the only reality there is. Bubbles throughout history only burst and burst badly, and this one, this guy, forgive me, Michael, whatever. There's this guy in newsletter, and he just says, quote, this is the greatest bubble in all of history by a magnitude of 2. This is double relative to the economy, anything we've ever seen. That's exactly what I think. This bubble trumps all, and people say, oh, the government can let it down gently. No bubble in history has gone down gently, and there's no bubbles in history to compare to this one globally. Not even close. There is no happy ending for this. And there's a point where governments can't keep blowing up the balloon until the plastic goes. And then you can't put Humpty Dumpty back together again.